Okay, this is a little project I've been working on recently. This is another Seth Thomas 89 mechanism. This has the two hammer strike, so this one strikes on the quarter, the half, 45 minutes, and the hour. And this was out of a Symbol number 2 clock that was my grandfather's, and I had at one point converted it to quartz operation. And this mechanism was, I could never get it to work. Of course, I never knew much about it, but recently I've been delving into this a little more seriously, and I had a little bit of luck getting some other mechanisms that weren't quite as bad as this one. I got them running nicely. So what this one had, several of the bushings on the drive side and also several of the bushings on the chime side were worn out, elongated like they get. And what I did is I went on my my lathe and I made a bunch of bushings. I made about 20 of them, and I made them all to fit a certain size reamer I had, and I made the bore small in the bushing so I could enlarge it to whatever size I needed to enlarge it to, because not all the spindles on all the gears and different pieces on the mechanism were the same size. So in any case, I took the mechanism all apart and I set the plates in my Bridgeport, and I accurately located the where the bushings go, and I bored them out and press fit in new bushings, and then reamed them out to the proper size for the spindle. I had have a nice lead in on each of the bushings to hold oil, so they should be pretty good. Also, the pendulum hanger was broken, along with the piece that holds the bob hanger there, and so I made as original part new pendulum hanger and new bob arm. So I got that done. The other thing with this mechanism, at some point I had cannibalized it a little bit because I needed one of the longer arbors that hold the hands on. I guess there's at least two types. There's one for a type of mechanism that has a flat face, and there's one for a type of clock that has a convex face. And I had another good mechanism, but it had the short arbor in, so I took the long arbor out of this mechanism because I was never sure it was going to work again. So what I did is, these are the old parts that came out of it. I machined up a new inner spindle there, and the other piece that mounts the gear, and that's where the cam that controls how the hour strike goes. So I machined that all up on the lathe, and I made a little fixture to correctly time the piece inside that controls the arms that trip off the whole chime side, so I could accurately locate all that back correctly. And I put that all together and knurled the shaft and pressed all the gears back on. And I took my time, and it came out really good now, and it worked pretty good. So anyhow, after I got all the bushings in the thing, I put the mechanism together. There's new springs on the levers that control the tripping for the chiming, because they were all mangled. So I wound up some new springs and put them on, and I put this mechanism back together with the original mainsprings on both the drive side and the chime side, because I wanted to see how well it worked. When I was test fitting the gears into the piece, they all ran very smoothly. I mean, if you spun them, they just kept going. So I felt pretty confident that this was going to work, which it actually has. It's been running now. I put this together this morning. It's been running all day pretty nicely, which well, at this point doesn't mean anything. But if it'll run good for a week on this test stand, I'm gonna call it a success. But I don't see any reason why this one won't run good. Everything's nice. The bushings are all new. Took my time. I oiled it up correctly, and like I say, it ran with the old springs, so I'm not going to change those at all. Now, somebody at some point in the life of this mechanism had tried to correct the worn bushings with these pieces here, which they screwed onto the plates of the clock and tried to use them for new bushings. And I think part of the problem with this clock were these things, in that I think they had too much friction and weren't really correctly installed. The other thing, even the little rack mechanism here, that 3-pin drive piece there, and the whole stop lever for that was all bent. Somebody really did a job in this thing, so I was able to get that all back corrected. The only trick I saw with getting this clock to run successfully was there's a little cam in there with a little some notches in it, and there's a little arm that falls into that. And when that arm falls into those notches, there's another gear with a little pin on it. And what that pin does is a lever drops down, and that pin stops the chime side from running. And you have to get the gear that has that little pin on it. You have to get that in the correct mesh to be timed correctly, so that the chime side shuts off good. Otherwise, it'll keep running, because that little arm will never fall into its location, and the chime side just runs continuously. So obviously, when I put one of these back together one time, that happened to me, and that's how I discovered that. But it wasn't too hard to figure out, and it's easy enough to correct. You just have to loosen the plates, and you can skip the teeth over a couple notches to put the gear where it needs to be, and then it starts working correctly. Now this thing's going to get ready to chime off in a couple minutes, so maybe I'll just stay here and have a look at it chiming. Now I'd say in about a minute this is going to go and get into position to chime the 3/4 hour strike, and you can see how that works. So I'm not a clock expert by any stretch of the imagination. There it goes. And the rack mechanism is going to rock up 3 times, and then it stopped as it should. It runs nice and smooth, and I'm really just happy with that. Like I say, I'm no clock expert by any means. I felt fortunate to get as far as I did with this thing, because that's really my first try in putting bushings in and stuff. So that all worked out good, and I had some good equipment at my disposal to do this easily, and for me at least anyhow, with no real specific clock making tools. But all in all, it's been a lot of fun and most interesting. So appreciate you taking the time to listen to my video, and thanks to Al for being a good inspiration in this whole project, with just some moral support and some good advice that he gave me. So you might want to look at his videos on eBay, because they're most informative. Thanks.